Yes.
On Wednesday, the Supreme Court heard arguments in a case between Amazon and the workers at one of its warehouses in Las Vegas, Nevada, who allege they've lost as much as 25 minutes of paid time every day during a security screening at the end of the day. Now, we should note that that's my phrasing. I don't know that that's necessarily the legal phrasing. And the reason I make that distinction is because the whole debate is over whether or not that is indeed paid time they're losing. Many retailers do these types of end-of-shift screenings. They're meant to keep theft down. Of course, whenever you work in a warehouse delivery business model like what Amazon is and delivers great prices, shrinkage and theft are going to be two things you really have to control for. And there's so this is, like I say, a very commonplace practice in the industry. There's been as many as 13 class action lawsuits against Amazon and others in the industry involving more than 400,000 plaintiffs and potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, at the center of this particular case is a 1947 law, which is known as the Portal to Portal Act, which states that companies aren't required to pay for either preliminary or post-preliminary activities. That's which is to say, that's why they don't owe you pay for walking back and forth, from your car every morning in the parking lot. That's not considered part of the job. It's not considered essential to do the job, so they don't owe you money for it. Now, the court has offered interpretations of the law and of this law in previous instances. Most importantly is the 1956 Steiner versus Mitchell case, which they ruled that the law required pay only for tasks that are, as I said earlier, integral and indispensable, or an integral and indispensable part of the principal activities for which covered workmen are employed. So, meaning not only does it have to be an integral part of, the workplace, but even maybe specifically, what your job is, what you were hired to do. So while many, with that in mind, may be slow to consider, being checked for stolen property work, others would note and push back and say, well, Amazon requires this every day, and the process wouldn't take so long if Amazon would hire more screeners and invest in the tools and infrastructure needed to expand and quicken the process. So, Haven, do you think, is this possibly as circumstantial of a matter as that? That is to say, if Amazon made this process take less time, it'd be fine if they weren't paying employees, or is that kind of is there too much contingency there? Does there need to be a one-size-fits-all ruling around this? Either it's paid work or it ain't, period. What do you think?
Well, I think they were saying in the article that it takes upwards of 25 minutes to go through these security checks. So it's not like it's not the same time that you're walking from your car to your door and going through, let's say, like a metal detector. So because it takes that long, and because it's not necessarily for anything for the protection of the workers, from what I've gathered, Amazon is doing this to ensure that their products aren't stolen. I do consider that integral and indispensable. So if you're taking up 25 minutes of my time that I could be doing something else with, and it's not even for me, then yes, I want to get paid for that. But I find it lately a lot of worker laws are becoming things that can be on the table. And along with that, there are a couple articles about, the work week and if we should extend it, if we should open it up so that the work week or overtime pay is more inclusive to more people. And again, the Supreme Court, certain individuals, I'm pretty sure everybody knows who is kind of fighting back against that. So I think this is just a little bit of a baby step towards some other things. The unions are gone. They're busted. So everything that a company would want to do to use to cut costs, make sure that they can advance their profits as much as possible from their workers is all open, belly out, ready to be gutted. So I personally wouldn't want the Supreme Court to say that doesn't count and that the 25 minutes that is being wasted by the employees shouldn't be paid, because to me it's kind of like wage theft, and also it's opening a floodgate to other things that could be way worse.
So you're afraid, if I'm understanding you right, maybe then they win this case and they turn on you, say, yeah, it doesn't matter how long it takes, it's not part of the job, it's part of, it's just cost of doing business for the worker in this case. And And then so maybe that opens the door in the future, like, hey, bathroom breaks, you're stopping work, so you got to clock out for that 2 or 3 minutes every single time. Is that kind of where you're going?
Oh yes, the slippery slope. I mean, once you get, I mean, this is like inching it. They're kind of throwing jabs to see what is tolerated, what kind of bullshit people are willing to eat. And there's a lot of conservative individuals who are like, yeah, they hear, oh, security check, and they think, oh, at best it's like 5 minutes. You shouldn't get paid for 5 minutes. A lot of what I've been hearing on the right has kind of like put under the rug the fact that this is a fucking half-hour process for people to go through. If it's I don't think if anybody hears that you have to go through half hour's worth of security searches, you're going to want to get paid for that. And what exactly are you searching for, and where are you searching? Or it takes 30 minutes for you to find something or not find something.
Well, the problem is there's so many workers and the line is so long. And so that's where what Amazon is saying on why this shouldn't be, is because if you make this paid work, then you incentivize being in the back of the line. And so you're going to have people constantly like trying to reverse cut each other and get out of the line and try to squeeze out a little extra pay, for not doing work. So, Haven, just to, again, kind of back to my original question then. So do we need a blanket ruling, or if it takes 5 minutes, is it okay? Is there a time limit on it? Kind of where do you draw the line?
To be reasonable, there should be a time limit. There should be a time frame. But to me personally, the second I don't know about you, but the second I walk through my job's door, I want to get paid. Period. Like, I don't care. Like, my car is the only time I shouldn't get paid. But I don't want to walk through these doors. I'm walking through these doors because I have bills to pay. And I want to get paid for that. I'm sorry. So, like, the second I'm in there, clocked in, I want to get paid. But that's just me, and I'm kind of selfish about that. But to be fair, go ahead, yeah, make a ruling where it's flexible enough where it's like, okay, if it's taking an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, you should be compensating your workers. And if it's not, I mean, they could very well just hire more screeners if it's really that much of a big problem. If it's causing them so much, be the job creators that you say you are, and hire more security guards to go through everybody so the lines won't be that long.
Okay. Jill, go ahead and jump in.
I definitely agree. If you're standing in line waiting to be checked out by security before you walk out the fucking door, come on, people, pay the workers. Amazon is renowned for being horrible with their warehouse employees anyway. Absolutely renowned for being just the biggest dickheads in the world with their warehouse employees, and this is just another example. And this will snowball and snowball until it's like you said, Jordan, bathroom breaks. Oh, got to clock out for bathroom breaks, or we're watching the time. And there have been instances that I have read where businesses are checking people how long they go to the bathroom and how many bathroom breaks they take during the day. I know one case was they were talking about the smart ID tags that could define your point in the building and where you were at in the building for how long and whatnot, and how much actual work you're doing, who you've talked to throughout the day. It's just another one of those Big Brother things. This is just, it's fucking ridiculous that they can't pay workers for 25 minutes. In a way, they're incentivizing people to leave early to get into line to get out of there faster. So they need to, the courts need to look at this and say, for once, let's rule for the fucking employees instead of goddamn employers. I'm sorry. It's one of those things that gets under my skin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, let's keep it real. I'm glad that Sean hasn't been here in every other segment, but we could use him right now because he could tell us whether or not the whole bathroom break thing has been explicitly ruled on. It probably has. I feel like, I get where you're coming from, Haven, and if any Supreme Court has shown that, previous precedent can be overturned, it's this one. But I feel like maybe the slippery slope is not quite as slippery from past rulings, but again, this is where Sean would actually have something good to say. I don't have that depth.
I actually worked a job where you did have to clock out for your lunch break, and you did have to clock out if you wanted to go to the bathroom. It was allowed because I was considered an independent contractor for a telecommunication company. So it's not like these things aren't on the table. When I say a slippery slope, what you see is that a lot of what companies are trying to do is expand those type of rulings to not just independent contractors, but full-time employees. Or they're trying to shrink in who's included for overtime pay or stuff like that. So it's like once they start getting, like, you see it. Once you start seeing them getting comfortable with, all we got to do is just say jobs and take this away from workers. Right now we have a visceral effect where it's like you say anything about taking anything away from workers, people freak out. But slowly but surely, if you put things in the news where it's like, oh, that's not that bad, or they took that hit, you're going to see them get a little bit more strength, slowly but surely, to start putting to the test a lot of provisions that are put in to protect workers.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. And I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, this is something that they've got to be paid for because, like I say, this is a policy that Amazon has implemented, and the reason it takes so long is because Amazon implemented a policy without putting the staff and the infrastructure in place to make it, an expedient process. You've got 200,000 people. Obviously, I'm speaking in hyperbole here for the sake of an easy argument. You've got 200,000 people that work at one, building. They're going to spend a lot of time in traffic. That's just the way logistics work. That's not a policy keeping people there. This is something that doesn't necessarily have to exist. It exists so Amazon can keep their prices low. And so at the end of the day, I've got to say, yeah, Amazon, you got to pay one way or the other. Either you got to pony up the money and make this a quick and expedient process, or if you're going to make your people take all day, then you got to pay them, and that probably means paying them overtime because they're probably putting in 40 hours a week in their regular shift.